I should have known Mom would find a way to humiliate me at Sarah's wedding. It's what she did best. Standing in front of my bathroom mirror that Saturday morning, I adjusted the simple navy dress I'd chosen, elegant but deliberately understated. My phone buzzed with a text from James. Asterisk, ready to drop the bomb today? Sis. I smiled. Asterisk, you sure about this? It's Sarah's day. Sis. Asterisk, Sarah's been part of the cruelty for years. Besides, your mom's toast is scheduled for 7 p.m. I'll be gentle. Mostly. Sis. James Morrison and I had been engaged for 2 years, together for 3. We kept it completely private. Not because we were ashamed, but because I'd learned that my family turned everything I loved into ammunition. When I was 27, I'd brought a boyfriend to Thanksgiving. Mom spent the entire meal pointing out his flaws. He left before dessert and we broke up a week later. So when I met James at a hospital charity gala where I was catering and he turned out to be genuine, brilliant and kind, I made a decision. My family didn't get to touch this. Not until I was ready. Emma, you almost ready? My roommate Kristen knocked on the door. She was my plus one, the only person besides James who knew the truth. We need to leave in 20 minutes. Coming. The drive to Meadowbrook Vineyard Estate took 40 minutes. Sarah had chosen it for its rolling hills, pristine gardens, and the stunning stone mansion where the reception would be held. She'd posted about it non-stop for months. The exclusive venue, the waiting list, the fact that only elite weddings happened there. What she didn't know was that James had purchased the entire estate 6 months ago. Not for investment, for us. Our wedding was planned for exactly 4 weeks from today on these same grounds. Sarah's wedding planner was actually our wedding planner, coordinating both events. The irony was almost too perfect. You're smiling, Kristen observed as we pulled through the vineyard gates. Just thinking about how tonight is going to go. Your mom is going to lose it. I know. The smile widened. The ceremony was beautiful. Sarah looked radiant in her designer gown. Her fiancé Marcus looked appropriately nervous, and I sat in the back row where I'd been assigned, far from the family section. Mom had actually argued I should sit with other singles at the reception, but the wedding planner, our wedding planner, had quietly intervened. As guests moved toward the stone mansion for cocktail hour, I caught James's eye. He was seated at the head table, having arrived separately as a surprise VIP guest that Marcus's family had somehow secured. The story was that Marcus's uncle knew someone who knew James, and they'd graciously invited the prestigious Dr. Morrison to add class to the event. In reality, James owned the venue. He'd invited himself. Emma. Sarah's maid of honor, my cousin Jennifer, air kissed near my cheek. Nice. That dress is very sensible. Thanks, Jen. Must be hard watching Sarah get her happily ever after. But don't worry, your time might still come. There's a nice single guy at table 12. Works in IT. I smiled blandly. How thoughtful. The reception hall was spectacular. Crystal chandeliers, white roses everywhere, a string quartet playing softly. I was seated at table 9, far from the family tables, surrounded by distant relatives who barely knew my name. Kristen squeezed my hand under the table. Showtime in about an hour, she whispered. Dinner was served. A 5-course meal that James and I had actually helped select when planning our own wedding. The chef had sent out a testing menu for both events. Sarah thought she'd made these choices. She hadn't. As dessert plates were cleared, Dad stood up for the father of the bride toast. He spoke about Sarah's accomplishments, her beauty, her wonderful choice in Marcus. He mentioned me exactly once. And of course, we're grateful Emma could take time from her catering business to be here. Polite laughter rippled through the room. My catering business was actually a thriving culinary consulting firm with corporate clients across the state, but Dad had never bothered to learn the details. Then Mom stood up, glass of champagne in hand. My stomach tightened. I'd like to say a few words, Mom began, her voice carrying across the elegant hall. Sarah has always been our shining star. From the moment she was born, we knew she was destined for greatness. And look at her now, married to a wonderful man with a promising career in marketing, living the life she deserves. She paused, took a sip of champagne, and I saw the shift in her expression. The one that meant she was about to strike. Of course, not all of us are as fortunate. Mom's eyes landed on me. My other daughter Emma is here tonight. Still single at 35. No husband, no children, just her little cooking jobs here and there. My table went quiet. Kristen's hand found mine again. Emma, sweetheart, you'll never find love like Sarah did, Mom continued, her voice dripping with false sympathy. But that's okay. Not everyone is meant for marriage and family. Some people are meant to, well, to be alone. And there's no shame in that. The room erupted in uncomfortable laughter. A few people actually looked at me with pity. Sarah was smiling, not even pretending to be embarrassed by our mother's cruelty. That's when James stood up. He was sitting at the head table just 3 seats from the bride and groom. 6'2", impeccably dressed in a Tom Ford tuxedo, with the kind of presence that made people pay attention. The laughter died immediately. "Excuse me," James said, his voice calm but carrying effortlessly across the room. "I'm Dr. James Morrison. I don't believe we've been properly introduced, though I've heard quite a bit about this family." Mom looked confused. Marcus's mother leaned over and whispered something, probably explaining who James was. Mom's expression shifted to forced politeness. Having a renowned cardiac surgeon at your daughter's wedding was a social coup after all. "Dr. Morrison," Mom said warmly, "how wonderful that you could attend. Are you a friend of Marcus's family?" "Actually," James said, walking around the table toward me, "I'm here for Emma." The room went silent. James stopped beside my chair and offered his hand. I took it, standing, my heart pounding. This was it. "You see, Mrs. Thompson," James continued, his eyes never leaving mine, "Emma and I have been together for 3 years. We've been engaged for 2 of those years. But we've kept it private because Emma wanted to protect what we have from moments like this." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a ring that caught the light from every chandelier, a stunning 12-carat emerald-cut diamond set in platinum, surrounded by smaller diamonds. I'd chosen it myself 18 months ago. We'd been wearing simpler engagement bands in private, saving this one for the right moment. "Emma Catherine Thompson," James said, his voice warm and genuine, "I proposed to you 2 years ago in my kitchen while you were teaching me to make pasta. You said yes while laughing at my terrible technique. But I never got to do this publicly, never got to show the world how lucky I am." He took my left hand, slipping off the simple band I'd been wearing on my right hand, and slid the magnificent ring onto my finger. "So I'm proposing again here in front of everyone who doubted you. Will you marry me? Again?" "Yes," I whispered, then louder, "Yes." The room exploded, but not with congratulations. With shocked gasps, frantic whispers, and the sound of Mom's champagne glass hitting the floor. James pulled me close and kissed me softly, then turned to face the room, his arm around my waist. "There's something else you should know," he said. "I bought this entire vineyard estate 6 months ago. Every acre, every building, every vine. I purchased it specifically for our wedding, which is scheduled for exactly 4 weeks from today." Sarah's face went white. "So Sarah, Marcus," James continued, his tone perfectly pleasant, "congratulations on your beautiful ceremony. Emma and I are delighted to host your reception tonight. Consider it our wedding gift to you." The silence was deafening. Then Marcus's mother started clapping, either out of genuine happiness or social survival instinct. A few others joined in uncertainly, but most people just stared. That's when the estate manager, Richard, appeared at James's elbow. "We'd coordinated this part too. Dr. Morrison, Ms. Thompson," Richard said with a respectful nod, "I wanted to confirm tomorrow's final walkthrough for your ceremony preparations. The guest list is now at 450, and we'll need to discuss the additional pavilion setup." 450? Sarah's voice came out as a squeak. "Yes," I said, finding my voice. "We're expecting quite a few people. James's colleagues from Columbia Presbyterian, my clients, friends we've actually kept in touch with over the years." "Columbia Presbyterian," Dad repeated faintly. "You're the chief of cardiology at Columbia Presbyterian?" "For 3 years now," James confirmed. "Though I imagine Emma didn't mention it. She doesn't tend to brag about the people she loves. Unlike some families." Mom had gone pale. "Emma, we didn't know." "You didn't ask," I said simply. "You never ask. You assumed, you mocked, and you moved on. Just like you've done my entire life." Sarah finally found her voice. "You're lying. This is some kind of sick joke to ruin my wedding." Jennifer, who'd been filming the toasts on her phone, suddenly gasped. "Oh my God, Sarah, he's telling the truth. Dr. James Morrison, chief of cardiology at Columbia Presbyterian, age 37, one of the country's leading heart surgeons. There are articles." "Wait." She scrolled frantically. "There's a photo from a medical gala 6 months ago. Emma's in it. She's listed as his fiancé. She held up her phone. Sure enough, there we were at the American Heart Association gala. Me in a red evening gown, James in a tuxedo, my hand clearly showing an engagement ring. The caption read, Dr. James Morrison, Chief of Cardiology with fiancée Emma Thompson, culinary consultant. You've been engaged for 2 years? Mom's voice was barely a whisper. Yes. And you never told us? Why would I? The words came out harder than I intended. So you could criticize my choice? Mock James the way you mocked every boyfriend I ever brought home? Tell me I wasn't good enough for him? Turn my relationship into another opportunity to make me feel small. That's not fair, Sarah protested. Isn't it? I looked at my sister. Sarah, you've been planning this wedding for a year. Did you once, even once, ask about my life? My work? Whether I was seeing anyone? Or did you just assume I was still the pathetic single sister you could pity? Sarah's mouth opened and closed. No words came out. Marcus's father stood up, ever the diplomat. Well, this is certainly unexpected, but what a lovely surprise. 2 celebrations of love. Perhaps we should toast both the newlyweds and the soon-to-be-weds. James smiled. That's generous, sir, but unnecessary. Tonight is about Sarah and Marcus. Emma and I just wanted to clarify a few misconceptions. By humiliating my daughter at her own wedding? Mom had found her anger. No, Mrs. Thompson, James said, his voice still calm but with an edge now. By defending my fiancé from your cruelty. You humiliated Emma. I simply corrected the record. Richard cleared his throat. If I may, there's one more detail. Ms. Thompson, the wedding planner asked me to confirm that your ceremony will use the main garden, correct? The same space where the ceremony just took place. Yes, I confirmed. But we'll have the space completely transformed. Different flowers, different setup. Amanda's very good at making each wedding unique. Amanda. Sarah's voice was strangled. Amanda Lewis is your wedding planner? She's been planning our wedding for 8 months, I said. When you hired her 3 months ago, she added your event to her schedule. But yes, she's primarily working on ours. Ours is considerably larger. The truth was starting to sink in for everyone. The venue they thought Sarah had secured through connections and prestige? I owned it through James. The wedding planner Sarah had been bragging about? She'd been working on my wedding first. The exclusive estate that only hosted elite events? My wedding was the reason for the exclusivity. I can't believe this, Sarah said, tears starting. You ruined my wedding. I didn't ruin anything, I said quietly. You had a beautiful ceremony. You're married to the man you love. Your reception is being hosted at a stunning venue. The only thing that's changed is that you now know the truth about my life. But everyone will talk about this instead of my wedding. Probably, I acknowledged. But Sarah, ask yourself why that bothers you so much. Is it because I ruined your day? Or because you can't stand that for once, I'm not the failure you needed me to be? The words hung in the air. Sarah burst into tears and ran from the room, Marcus hurrying after her. Mom turned to me, her expression a mix of shock and something that might have been shame. Emma, we should talk. Should we? I felt James's hand squeeze my waist gently, a reminder to stay grounded. What would we talk about, Mom? How you've spent 35 years making me feel inadequate. How you compared me to Sarah at every opportunity. How you just told a room full of people that I'll never find love. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. You meant every word. The only difference is that now you know you were wrong and it embarrasses you. Dad stood up, his face red. Now see here, Emma, we're still your parents. You owe us respect. I owe you nothing, I said, and the certainty in my voice surprised even me. Respect is earned. Love isn't something you deserve just because you gave birth to me. You've spent my entire life making me feel like I wasn't enough. Well, I am enough. I'm more than enough. And I found someone who sees that. James spoke up. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, I'd like to be clear about something. Emma tried to tell you about us multiple times over the past 2 years. She called, she invited you to lunch, she tried to share her life with you. You were always too busy with Sarah's career, Sarah's apartment hunt, Sarah's wedding planning. Every time Emma reached out, you brushed her off. That's not true, Mom protested weakly. James pulled out his phone. Emma showed me the texts. Too busy right now, maybe next month. Sarah needs help with wedding stuff. Can we reschedule? Can't talk at Sarah's dress fitting. Should I continue? Silence. We invited you to the medical professionals gala 6 months ago, James continued. Emma sent a formal invitation. You declined because it conflicted with Sarah's engagement party, a party that Emma wasn't even invited to. We thought, Mom started. You thought she'd feel bad because she wasn't engaged, James finished. Except she was. To me. But you never bothered to find out. Jennifer was still standing nearby, her phone out. This is insane. Emma, why didn't you just tell everyone? Because it wasn't safe, I said simply. My family has a history of destroying things I care about. When I was 16, I won a cooking scholarship to France. Mom convinced me not to go because Sarah needed me here for her high school graduation. When I was 22, I got into a prestigious culinary program in New York. Dad said it was a waste of money and refused to help, even though he paid for Sarah's entire graduate degree. I looked around the room at the relatives who'd watched this dynamic for decades and never said a word. I learned to keep the important things hidden, I continued. My business, my achievements, and eventually my relationship. Because the moment my family knew about something I valued, they found a way to diminish it. Kristen stood up beside me. For what it's worth, I've watched Emma build an incredible life while fielding calls from her mother asking when she'd settle down and find a real job. She runs a consulting firm that works with Fortune 500 companies. She's been featured in Culinary Digest 3 times. She's successful, happy, and in love. But none of you ever cared enough to notice. The room had gone quiet again. Some guests looked uncomfortable, others sympathetic. Marcus's family seemed torn between supporting Sarah and acknowledging the obvious dysfunction of mine. Richard approached again. I'm terribly sorry to interrupt, but we have the cake cutting scheduled in 10 minutes. Should I proceed? I looked at James. He raised an eyebrow. Your call. Yes, I said. Proceed with the schedule. This is still Sarah's wedding day. We've said what needed to be said. As Richard left, Amanda Lewis, the wedding planner, appeared. She was a consummate professional in her 50s who'd coordinated hundreds of weddings. Emma, James, she said quietly, I think it's best if you two step out for a bit. Let Sarah have her cake moment. You can slip back in later if you'd like, or... We'll go, I said. We've accomplished what we came to do. James nodded. Amanda, thank you for handling both events so gracefully. It's been interesting, Amanda said with the hint of a smile. For what it's worth, your wedding is going to be spectacular. The garden will be completely transformed. As we walked toward the exit, my Aunt Linda caught my arm. She was Dad's sister, someone I'd always liked but rarely saw. Emma, she said softly, I owe you an apology. We all do. I've watched your mother and sister treat you poorly for years and I never said anything. That was wrong. I felt tears prick my eyes. Thank you, Aunt Linda. Your young man seems wonderful. And this venue. She looked around. This is breathtaking. I hope you'll still invite me to your wedding, even though I don't deserve it. You're on the guest list, I assured her. You've always been kind when you could be. She hugged me quickly, then stepped back. Go enjoy your evening. You've earned it. James and I walked out into the cool evening air, Kristen following. The vineyard stretched out before us, rows of vines illuminated by soft landscape lighting. In 4 weeks, this would be decorated for our celebration. Flowers everywhere, a string orchestra for 150 people who actually cared about us. You okay? James asked, pulling me close. Yeah, I said, and I meant it. I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. No regrets about going public like that? None. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. He kissed my forehead. Though I might have been a bit more dramatic with the ring presentation. I laughed. It was a 12-carat diamond. How much more dramatic could you get? Fair point. Kristen's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and grinned. Jennifer just posted about it. Most dramatic wedding toast ever at Meadowbrook Vineyard. Sister's secret fiancé is chief of cardiology at Columbia Presbyterian. Plot twist, he owns the venue. It's already got 200 shares. Let them talk, I said. For once they can talk about something true. We walked through the gardens for a while, discussing our own wedding plans. The flowers we'd chosen, white peonies and garden roses, completely different from Sarah's arrangements. The menu we'd spent weeks perfecting. The first dance song we'd practiced in James's living room. My phone rang. Sarah's number. I considered ignoring it, but James nodded encouragingly. I answered. Emma. Sarah's voice was small, younger sounding than I'd heard in years. Can we talk? Okay. I'm in the bridal suite. Can you Can you come up? Just you. I looked at James. He gestured, go ahead. I found Sarah sitting on a velvet couch, still in her wedding dress, mascara slightly smudged. Her maid of honor had left us alone. Nice suite, I said. The view of the vineyard is beautiful. It's your venue, Sarah said flatly. Everything is yours. James's, I corrected. But yes. Sarah twisted her hands in her lap. I've been horrible to you. Yes. For years. Yes. And Mom encouraged it. Made it seem normal to treat you like you were less than me. I sat down across from her. Sarah, do you even know what I do for a living? She hesitated. You cook. I run a culinary consulting firm. We work with restaurant chains, hotels, corporate dining programs. I develop menus, train chefs, optimize kitchen operations. Last year my firm grossed $2.3 million. Sarah's eyes widened. I had no idea. Biz, you never asked. None of you did. You decided I was unsuccessful, and that became the truth you all believed. I'm sorry. Are you? I leaned forward. Are you sorry you hurt me, or are you sorry you were wrong about me? Because those are very different things. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Both, she finally said. I think I needed you to be the failure. It made me feel better about myself. Mom always compared us and I got used to being the winner. And you just took it. You never fought back. I fought back by succeeding despite you, I said. I built a life you knew nothing about. I found love you couldn't diminish. I won, Sarah. I just did it quietly. Your wedding, she said. 4 weeks from now. In the garden where I got married today. Yes. That must feel good. Like revenge. It's not revenge, I said honestly. We booked this venue because James and I fell in love with it when we came for a wine tasting 8 months ago. We had no idea you'd chosen the same place. Amanda mentioned you'd inquired about dates, but we were already locked in. But you let me go ahead with it. Knowing you'd have your wedding here a month later. Would you have rather I told you? Would that have been kinder? You would have accused me of trying to steal your spotlight. This way you got your day. And now I get mine. Sarah laughed bitterly. You're going to have the bigger wedding, aren't you? More guests, more flowers, more everything. Probably, I admitted. But not to compete with you. Because James and I have a lot of people we love and we want them all there. I wish. Sarah started then stopped. What? I wish we could have been sisters. Real sisters. Not competitors. I felt something shift in my chest. Not forgiveness exactly, but maybe the possibility of it. We could be, I said carefully. But it would take work, Sarah. Real work. You'd have to stop seeing me as someone to beat. And Mom would have to stop pitting us against each other. She's downstairs crying, Sarah said. Dad's trying to calm her down. She keeps saying she didn't know, she didn't realize. She didn't want to know, I corrected. There's a difference. Will you invite them? To your wedding? I considered this. I don't know yet. James and I will discuss it. But Sarah, if they come as guests. Not as VIPs, not as people with opinions on how we should do things. Just guests who show up, watch us get married and hopefully feel happy for us. That's fair. And you? Me? Would you want to come? Sarah looked surprised. You'd invite me after I've been so awful? I'd invite the sister you could choose to be, I said. Not the sister you've been. If you can show up without the competition, without the need to compare, without the cruelty, then yes, I'd want you there. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Sarah asked, Is he good to you? Dr. Morrison. James is the kindest, most supportive person I've ever known, I said. He thinks I'm extraordinary exactly as I am. He's never tried to change me or diminish me. He just loves me. You deserve that, Sarah said quietly. I'm starting to see that you always deserved that. It wasn't a full apology. It wasn't absolution. But it was something. You should get back to your reception, I said standing. It's your wedding day. Dance with your husband. Cut your cake. Enjoy it. Emma. Sarah stood too. Thank you. For not completely destroying this day even though you could have. I'm not cruel, Sarah. I never was. That was always you and Mom, not me. I left her there and found James and Kristen waiting by his car. A sleek black Mercedes that made my sister's rental BMW look even more sad. How'd it go? James asked. Complicated, I said. But maybe there's hope. For reconciliation? For something less toxic at least. As we drove away from the vineyard, I looked back at the stone mansion, lit up against the night sky. In 4 weeks it would be lit up for us. Our wedding. Our celebration. Our life on full display for everyone who doubted us. No regrets. James asked again. I reached over and took his hand, the 12-carat diamond catching the light from the dashboard. None. Best proposal ever. Both times. He laughed. Wait until you see what I have planned for our actual wedding day. Oh no. Should I be worried? Let's just say the helicopter arrival might upstage the ring. You're bringing a helicopter to our wedding? To whisk you away after. I booked us a villa in Tuscany for 3 weeks. We leave directly from the reception. I stared at him. You're ridiculous. You love it. I really do. 4 weeks later, 450 guests gathered at Meadowbrook Vineyard Estate for our wedding. The garden had been transformed exactly as we'd planned. Thousands of white peonies, a string orchestra, crystal and gold everywhere. My family was there sitting in the middle rows, not the front. Sarah came with Marcus and she smiled genuinely when I walked down the aisle. Mom cried, and for once they might have been tears of actual joy instead of performance. But the moment I remember most wasn't the ceremony or the reception or even the helicopter departure that had everyone talking for months. It was standing with James in the bridal suite before the ceremony, looking out at the vineyard we now owned together, and him saying, "You know what the best part is? You never needed them to see your worth. You knew it all along." And he was right. I had always known. I'd just been waiting for the rest of the world to catch up.